The junkyard was full of silence, except for the wind blowing through piles of broken metal and forgotten machines. Between the wrecked engines and shattered ship parts, something else lay still. Something not made of steel. It was a girl, an alien girl. Her skin was pale purple, bruised and dirty. Her clothes were torn, and worse, and her arms were gone. One of her legs was missing too, just bandaged stumps. Old bandages, soaked and frozen. She didn't cry. She didn't move. She had no energy left. She had been left here, like trash. The traders had seen her. So had the scavengers. She's too broken, they said. No use, just leave her. And they did. But someone else came to the junkyard that day. A human. He wore a thick coat covered in grease. His face had a small scar above the left eyebrow. A tool bag hung on his shoulder. His name was Logan. He was not a soldier, not a doctor, not a hero. He was a mechanic. He had come looking for old machine parts. Instead, he found her. At first, he thought she was a broken droid. But when he stepped closer, he saw her fingers twitch. Her chest moved, barely, his eyes widened. She's alive. He dropped to one knee and checked her pulse. Weak. He looked around. No one, just silence and cold metal. Then he looked at her again. She didn't speak. She couldn't. But her eyes opened, just a little. And in that one moment, Logan saw something in them. Fear, pain, and a small, flickering will to live. He didn't ask questions. He didn't wait for help. He gently picked her up. Her body was cold, lighter than he expected, fragile. As he carried her toward his small ship, she whispered something. He leaned closer. "Don't throw me away." Logan stopped walking. Then he whispered back, "I won't." Inside his ship, Logan laid her on a soft cot. The place was small, mostly an old workshop. Tools and wires were everywhere. He turned on the heater. Then, without wasting time, he got to work. First, he cleaned her wounds. Carefully. She flinched in pain, but didn't scream. Then he checked her vitals. Her blood was different from human blood, but he made guesses using his old scanner. She was dehydrated, hungry, in shock. He fed her drops of warm soup. She swallowed slowly, bit by bit. Night came. Logan sat beside her, watching her sleep. He didn't know who she was, didn't know why she had been abandoned, but he didn't care. What he knew was simple. She was still alive, and he was going to help her. The next morning, Logan began sorting through his scrap parts. He had built machines, drones, even small ships before. But this would be different. He pulled out old cybernetic limbs he had once repaired. Too big, too heavy, not right for her. So he grabbed his tools and began to build something new. Something small, something strong, something just for her. Days passed. She woke more often now, ate more, spoke in a soft voice. Logan asked her name. She didn't have one, just a number, a serial code. He frowned. "You're not a number," he said. "You're someone." She looked away. But he saw her eyes shine. One evening, as he worked on her arm design, she whispered, "Why are you helping me?" Logan paused. He set down his tool, then answered, "Because no one else did." She didn't reply, but she didn't look away either. Later that night, Logan carried one of the nearly finished arms to her bedside. "This," he said, "is just the beginning." She touched the smooth metal. It was warm. She looked up at him. "Will it work?" Logan smiled. "We'll make it work. Together." Outside, the junkyard was still silent. But inside Logan's ship, a new life had begun. Not perfect, not easy, but full of hope. For the first time in her life, the alien girl wasn't seen as broken. She was seen as someone worth saving. The small ship hummed with quiet energy. Tools clinked, wires sparked, and screens glowed in the dim light. Logan's hands were steady, but his eyes showed how tired he was. He hadn't slept much, but he didn't care. The alien girl, now resting on a padded table, was watching him. Her eyes still held fear, but also something else now. Curiosity and a quiet question. Why is he doing all this? Her body was weak, but her mind was clear now. The warmth in her chest, the clean clothes on her skin, the soup in her belly, they all told her one thing. She was not in danger anymore. Logan walked over and gently placed a small silver arm next to her. "It's ready," he said. "Let's try." Her eyes widened. The limb was beautiful. Smooth metal with soft joints. Lighter than it looked. It didn't look like a weapon. It looked like hope. He sat beside her and lifted her small shoulder gently. "This might hurt for just a second," he said. She nodded. No fear this time. He connected the base. There was a click, and then a soft pulse ran through her body. She gasped. The fingers of the silver hand twitched. She moved them one by one, her lips parted. Her mouth trembled, and then a small smile for the first time in her life. She had a limb that obeyed her, not one that chained her. "I can feel it," she whispered. "It's just the beginning," Logan said with a grin. The next few days were filled with learning. Logan made 2 more limbs, the second arm and the missing leg. Each one better than the last, each one crafted with care, not speed. The alien girl practiced every day. Lifting. A spoon, holding a cup, taking a single step, then 2, then 3. She fell. Again, and again, and again. Logan never laughed, never scolded. He helped her up each time, like a father teaching a child to walk. One night, after a long day of walking practice, she sat beside him as he repaired an old drone. "I was supposed to be thrown away," she said quietly. Logan stopped working. She looked at her metal fingers. "They said I failed. They said I was no good, that I was just parts." Logan looked at her, not with pity, but with something stronger. "You're not parts," he said. "You're someone. You survived something no one else did." She looked up. "But why me?" He smiled softly. "Because you're still here, and that means something." Later that night, she walked slowly across the room by herself. No help, no support, just her. When she reached the other side, she turned. Logan clapped once, smiling wide. She laughed, a real laugh, soft and musical. Her first. The next day, she helped Logan fix a broken engine. He showed her how to hold a tool, how to twist wires, how to listen to the hum of a machine. "You're a fast learner," he said. She tilted her head. "I like machines." He grinned. "Good. They're honest." That evening, she sat quietly thinking, then asked, "Can I have a name?" Logan looked up from his work. "You don't have one?" She shook her head. "Just a number, but I don't want it." He nodded. "Then you choose." She closed her eyes, thought deeply, then said, "Sarah, Sarah." Logan repeated, testing the sound. "What does it mean?" she asked. He smiled. "It means hope, in an old human language." She looked down at her hands. Strong metal, wired to life, full of new movement. "Then I like it," she whispered. "I want to be Sarah." That night, Logan updated her ID chip himself, deleted the serial number, typed in a new word. Sarah. No numbers, no chains. Just a name. Outside, the junkyard slept under the stars. Inside, a girl rebuilt from scrap smiled for the second time in her life, and a tired mechanic sat beside her, knowing this wasn't the end. This was the start. Sarah stood in the open cargo bay of Logan's junk ship, her new metal feet resting on cold steel. Wind from the scrapyard outside brushed against her skin, but she didn't shiver. She was standing, alone, without help. Her balance was shaky, but she was upright. Logan watched from a short distance, not saying a word. His arms were crossed, but his eyes were gentle, ready to help, but letting her try. Sarah took one step forward. Her right foot moved like it should. The left leg followed, but too fast. She stumbled, fell. Her hands hit the floor with a clang. "I'm fine," she said quickly before Logan could rush over. He waited. She sat up. Her hair hung over one eye. Her chest rose and fell with frustration. Then she stood again, slower this time. They trained every day. In the morning, Sarah walked along narrow beams Logan set on the floor. In the afternoon, she practiced picking up small objects, bolts, tools, even a piece of thread. In the evening, they worked on grip strength and step control. She failed over and over. Some days she wanted to scream, other days she did. But Logan never left her side. "You're not broken," he reminded her. "You're just rebuilding." One day, while reaching for a glass of water, her fingers slipped. The glass fell. She stared at it, frozen. The crash echoed in her mind louder than any explosion. "I'm still a mistake," she whispered. "No, you're human," Logan replied. "But I'm not human." Logan looked her in the eye. "Then you're something better." Later, he showed her a box. Inside were tools and parts of different shapes. "I want you to build something," he said. She blinked. "What?" "Anything. Your choice." She stared at the box for a long time, then picked up a bent wire, 2 small gears, and a chipped scanner chip. After an hour, she had made a tiny robot spider. It wobbled as it walked, but it walked. Logan grinned. "See? You're already making life." That night she sat alone, her legs hanging over the edge of the bed. She looked at her hands. She flexed the fingers. Wired, mechanical. But they were hers. She didn't hate them anymore. The next day, Logan gave her a final test, walk outside. She blinked. "Alone?" He nodded. "No supports, no handrails. Just you." She hesitated. The scrapyard was full of sharp metal and uneven ground, but she didn't want to be afraid anymore. She stepped outside. The sun was bright. The wind pushed at her. The first few steps were hard. Her legs clicked. Her arms wobbled, but she didn't fall. She kept going. By the time she reached the edge of the hill, Logan was already standing there, waiting. "How did I do?" she asked, out of breath. "You walked." She smiled. That was enough. That night, Sarah asked Logan a strange question. "If I was never broken, then why did they throw me away?" Logan was quiet for a long time, then said, "Some people only see weakness. They don't look for strength." She nodded, then whispered, "You did." He looked at her and replied, "Because I've been broken too." They didn't talk after that. But in that silence, something stronger grew. Not just friendship, not just gratitude, but family. The junkyard no longer felt like a graveyard. It felt like home. Because inside one rusted ship, a girl was learning how to stand tall again. And the man who helped her wasn't fixing a machine. He was building a future. The sun was setting behind the jagged hills of the junkyard. The broken ship parts cast long shadows, and a soft orange light poured into the open bay of Logan's ship. The air smelled like old metal, oil, and something warm. Bread. Logan had baked it. It wasn't perfect, but it was soft and fresh, and Sarah had never tasted anything like it. She sat cross-legged on the floor beside the table, a small smile on her face. Her robotic hands carefully held the warm slice as if it might fall apart. "This is amazing," she said between bites. Logan laughed. "It's just flour and heat." "No," she replied. "It's more." After dinner, she walked out to the roof of the ship. Her legs, once shaky, now moved with more confidence. The stars were beginning to show. She lay down on the warm metal, arms behind her head. She didn't feel like a prisoner anymore. She didn't feel like spare parts. But there was one thing still missing. Later that night, she found Logan cleaning a broken drone in his workshop. "Can I ask you something?" she said. He looked up. "Of course." She hesitated, then asked quietly, "Can I have a name?" Logan blinked. "You don't have one?" She shook her head. "They used to call me 134 Beta. That's not a name, that's a label." He sat back and wiped his hands. "Then yes, you can choose." She bit her lip. "But I don't know how." "Start with how you feel," he said. "What do you want your name to say about you?" She thought about it all night. She thought about the times she had crawled through cold metal halls, ignored and unseen. She remembered being lifted by Logan's arms, warm, safe. She remembered her first step, her first laugh, the little robot spider she built, the glass she dropped, and the lesson that followed. She wasn't who she used to be. She was new, different, alive. In the morning, she approached Logan, standing taller than before. "I want my name to be Sarah." Logan smiled. "It fits you." "What does it mean?" "In an old human tongue," he said, "Sarah means hope." She was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Then that's who I am." From that day forward, the name Sarah became more than a word. It became her identity. She engraved it into her wrist panel. She painted it on the side of her new toolkit. She even whispered it to the little robot spider at night. One evening, Logan brought out a small box. "I've been working on something," he said. Inside was a necklace. Simple, just a small gear hanging on a wire. He handed it to her. She looked at it, confused. He said, "That's from the first limb I built for you. I saved it." Her fingers brushed the smooth metal. "It's not perfect," he added, "but neither are we." She placed it around her neck and held it close. "I love it." That night, as stars lit the junkyard sky, Sarah stood on the roof of the ship again. Her name, her own name, rested on her lips. She wasn't a forgotten thing anymore. She was someone who had been rebuilt with love. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, a new spark of light began to glow, because one broken girl now had a name that would one day be remembered. Sarah. It was just another quiet morning in the junkyard. The sun had barely risen. The winds were gentle. Sarah was working on a small hover drone, her hands moving with calm skill. She was laughing softly as the little robot spider, her first creation, tried to chase the rolling bolt she had dropped. Logan stood nearby, sipping his weak coffee, proud of how far she had come. Then, a sound tore the air, a deep hum, sharp, metallic, wrong. Logan's eyes narrowed. A sleek, dark ship appeared overhead. Not a cargo hauler, not a scrapper, military and alien. The ship landed without warning. Dust and rusted bolts flew in all directions. Sarah stood up slowly. Her fingers trembled. Her feet didn't move. The ship's ramp opened with a hiss. 3 tall figures stepped out. Armor, sharp visors, cold silence. Sarah's voice broke. "I know them." The lead figure stepped forward. His voice was robotic and full of command. "Unit 134 Beta, you are to return with us immediately." Sarah didn't answer. The figure continued. "You are property of Kaltorian Holdings. You were not authorized to escape. Your limbs are stolen." Logan stepped in front of her. "She's not your property." The figure tilted his head. "And you are?" "Her guardian," Logan said firmly. "Her family. She is Kaltorian tech, modified without approval. Her recovery is legal." "She has a name," Logan said coldly. "Sarah." The soldier raised a device. "Move aside, human." Sarah's breath caught. Her mind was spinning. The cold labs, the beatings, the dark rooms, the time they shut her down because she spoke out, of turn. And now, after all this time, they had come back to take her again, to erase her. "No," she whispered. They didn't hear. She stepped forward. Her metal limbs clicked as she moved past Logan. She faced them. I'm not yours, she said clearly. You have no rights, the soldier replied. You are not a person. I wasn't, she said, but now I am. The soldier moved. Fast. A stun rod crackled in his hand. He charged, but Logan was faster. He activated a shield emitter strapped to his wrist. A blue flash lit the air and blocked the hit. Then his voice thundered, Sarah, get behind me. The second soldier raised a rifle. Sarah didn't run. Instead, she reached behind the workbench and pulled out something she and Logan had been secretly building. A shock pulse launcher. It wasn't made for battle, but it was enough. She aimed and fired. The blast hit the rifle cleanly, frying it. The soldier dropped it, sparks flying from his arm. The third soldier lunged at Logan. Sarah tackled him. The force knocked her back. But her legs held. She struck the soldier's chest with her mechanical arm. Once, twice. The armor cracked. The man groaned. Sarah stood over him, breathing hard. No more cages, she said. Outnumbered and damaged. The remaining soldiers stepped. Back, this isn't over, the lead one hissed. You'll be hunted. Logan answered calmly, then we'll be ready. The soldiers returned to their ship. As it lifted into the sky, Sarah collapsed to her knees. She wasn't crying. She was shaking. Not from fear, but from something stronger. Freedom. That night, Logan patched her wounds. Small scrapes. Nothing serious. He said quietly, They'll come again. I know, Sarah whispered. He looked at her. Do you want to run? She shook her head. No. I want to build something better. He smiled. Then we start tomorrow. In the dark junkyard under the stars, a fire had been lit. They had tried to take her back, but she wasn't the same girl anymore. She had a name. She had strength. She had a place, and no one would take it from her again. The junkyard was no longer just scrap and silence. Now it was a fortress. Logan and Sarah worked side by side, welding old war drones back to life, turning rusted turrets into motion-triggered defense tools. Each broken machine became part of something new. They didn't wait for trouble. They prepared for it, because they knew the Kaltorians would return. And next time, they wouldn't just bring soldiers. Sarah no longer trembled when holding a tool, her fingers moved fast, precise, confident. She built a long-range scanner, a trap that buried itself in the sand, and even a stealth drone that followed birds to learn flight paths. Logan watched with pride. She had once been thrown away like garbage. Now she was the one building protection. Days passed. Then, a warning tone. The scanner beeped. Sarah leaned over the screen. 4 heat signatures, she said. Approaching fast, heavily armed. Logan stood. They're early. Sarah didn't hesitate. Let's greet them. When the enemy ship landed, it brought more than soldiers. It brought drones, shiny, sharp, floating just above the ground. Like silent reapers, the Kaltorians stepped out, this time armored in black and gold. The lead commander stepped forward. Surrender the subject, he demanded. She has a name, Logan said, walking out with a wrench in one hand and a small controller in the other. And she has friends. With a tap of the button, the junkyard came alive. A wall of scrap metal rose behind Logan and Sarah, unfolding like a steel flower. Hidden turrets popped up. Drones flew out from old crates, buzzing like angry insects. The soldiers didn't expect resistance. But Sarah and Logan didn't wait. They attacked. Sarah moved first, her legs boosting her forward with a burst of power. She dodged blaster fire and threw a pulse grenade under a tank drone. Boom. The explosion rocked the yard. Logan followed, controlling support drones with his wrist pad. One of them zapped an attacker from behind, knocking him unconscious. The invaders weren't ready. They had expected a weak girl and an old man. What they got was a storm. Sarah's limbs glowed. She had upgraded them herself. Each strike she made was stronger, smarter. She used junk around her like weapons, swinging metal rods, redirecting laser beams with scraps of reflective plating. She wasn't just fighting for her life. She was fighting for her right to live free. A drone came at her from above. She jumped, grabbed it midair, ripped it apart. The pieces fell at her feet, but they were outnumbered. The commander activated a sonic disruptor. Sarah's limbs began to glitch. Sparks flew from her legs. She fell to one knee, groaning. The commander laughed. "Weak. Artificial," Logan shouted. "Sarah, your backup chip, left hip." She reached for the panel, opened it, and yanked a red wire. Her limbs powered back, stronger than before. She stood and ran straight at the commander. He raised his blade, but Sarah ducked, slid under him, then spun and struck his back. The armor cracked. He fell with a grunt. She stood, over him, breathing hard. "Still think I'm weak?" The soldiers fled, one by one. The machines they brought were broken, burning, and as the last ship lifted into the sky, Sarah dropped to her knees, tired, but not defeated. Logan rushed over. "You okay?" She nodded. "I'm alive." He helped her up. Together they looked at the junkyard. Half of it was in ruins, but they didn't care. It was theirs, and they would rebuild it again. That night, as they sat by a small fire made from broken panels, Sarah whispered, "I used to be afraid of machines." Logan looked at her metal hands. "Now you command them." She looked into the flames. "I didn't just fight them today. I fought what I used to be." He smiled. "And you won." Sarah nodded, her necklace swinging gently with the wind. Tomorrow, they would begin repairs. But tonight the stars above watched a girl who was once forgotten, now stand as a warrior. The wind was quiet over the junkyard. Metal scraps still smoked from the last fight. The ground was torn and scarred. Drones lay in pieces. But inside Logan's ship, there was peace. Sarah stood in front of a mirror. She didn't look at the wires, in her arms or the silver in her fingers. She looked into her own eyes, and for the first time in her life she saw someone whole. The door behind her opened. Logan stepped in with a fresh toolkit. "Repairs are done. The shields are working again." Sarah turned, smiling. "I finished the energy field too. It'll keep scanners from finding us." They had built something better than walls. They had built safety. Together. Later that morning, a young scrapper boy arrived with a broken hover cart. He had heard about the human and the silver-armed girl fixing machines no one else could fix. He was scared when he saw Sarah, but she smiled and said gently, "It's okay. Show me where it's broken." The boy handed it over with shaking hands and watched with wide eyes as she brought it back to life in minutes. Word spread, first to nearby junk dealers, then to spaceport workers. Soon, people from far systems brought machines and stories, and what they saw when they arrived wasn't just a human mechanic and a metal-limbed alien girl. They saw hope. One day, Sarah sat under the old solar panel tree Logan had made for her. Children from nearby colonies were running around chasing the little robot spider she'd built. Logan sat beside her, drinking from a dented cup. She asked softly, "Did you ever think I'd become this?" He smiled. "I didn't fix you, Sarah. I just gave you tools." "You gave me more than that," she said. "You gave me choice." Later that evening, Sarah opened a new crate of scrap and paused. Inside was a familiar metal plate. She touched it. It was part of the collar they used to keep on her, cold, rusted, still showing her old number, 134. Beta. She stared at it, then walked outside. She placed it in the furnace and watched it melt. She didn't look away, not once, because that part of her was gone, burned, forever. Weeks passed, then months. No more soldiers came, no more hunters, just travelers, children, lost machines, and thank yous. One night, a girl with golden skin and tiny horns whispered to Sarah, "You're like a hero from the stories." Sarah kneeled beside her. "I was once lost too," she said, "but someone helped me." The little girl asked, "So, now you help others?" Sarah smiled. "That's how we keep the light alive." That night, Sarah climbed to the roof of the ship again. She looked at the stars. She remembered the cage, the pain, the fear, and then she remembered the touch of Logan's hand when he first lifted her from the trash. He didn't look at her as a broken thing. He looked at her as someone worth saving. Logan came up beside her. "You okay?" She nodded. "I was just thinking," she whispered. "I'm not broken anymore." He chuckled. "You never were." She looked at him with soft eyes. "Then why did everyone treat me like I was?" "Because they were blind," he said. "But now, the galaxy sees you." "And what do they see?" she asked. He didn't answer with words. He just looked at her, not as a machine, not as a project, but as family. And so, the junkyard that once held only rust and silence now echoed with laughter, learning, and healing. All because one man refused to throw away a girl others called broken. And that girl? She rose, stronger than steel, braver than fire. She was Sarah, and she would never be forgotten.